What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, the First Round Fantasy Channel, your first choice for second round advice. Gabriel Miramontes here. I want to go ahead and give you guys a preview of my thoughts on the top 10 Dynasty running backs for the 2023 season. This is raw, this is uncut. I'll make errors, I'll do whatever I can to make it a smooth sailing process for you, or I should say, a smooth listening experience for you. With that being said, I get it. It's February. There's a long time to go. These are obviously my rankings before the NFL draft. However, for any of you crazies out there that are still interested in fantasy football, maybe running in maybe playing in a dynasty league or two, this might be beneficial for you. So let's go ahead. Let's jump in. I'm not going to waste any time. Today, I'm using Tier Maker. I love their stuff. Check it out. It's just a nice, easy way to kind of display information. There you see 12 running backs. Now, I told you we're only doing the first 10 running backs in my dynasty rankings. These aren't anybody else's. These are just my thoughts. You may not like them, and that's okay. I understand. But I'll give you the spill before we get started. If we help you in any way, shape, or form, whether that's advice, crucial start sit decisions in the season time, drop a like, give us a subscribe. If we get it wrong, if we mislead you in any direction, come on back the next time. Give us another try. It's 50 to 50 around here. So we appreciate you coming down. With that being said, we're going to jump right into it. My first running back off the board, which is number 10, because again, we're doing 1 through 10 here today. It's Tony Pollard, running back for the Dallas Cowboys. I love everything about Tony Pollard, number 8 running back in 2022. He shared a backfield while doing it. The potential and promise of this player is absolutely through the roof. He has a solid offensive line, and he could be all alone in 2023, depending on what they decide to do with Ezekiel Elliott, or if Tony Pollard finds himself in a different situation in 2023. Now, again, this is before the NFL draft. I don't know how many times I have to preface that, but again, a lot of things can happen. Free agency less than a month away here, about 15, 16 days away from the start shooting of this video. And also just all the news that can happen in between then. I get it. But man, what he was able to do while sharing that backfield with Ezekiel Elliott, times goes to show if he can find himself in another prime scenario, maybe staying in Dallas, I think that might be his best bet with Ezekiel Elliott potentially exiting that situation. We could see some prime time numbers for Tony Pollard. Now, with that being said, let's go right on ahead to number 9. Not going to talk too much about this next guy, but it is Nick Chubb, running back for the Cleveland Browns. He is probably the best pure tank rusher out of this group of players. Now, these rankings are PPR. I feel like I should probably preface that. But even with it being PPR, Nick Chubb consistently over the last few years has found himself as a top 10 running back, also most notably top 5 for a few years stretch there. So, again, I'm not going to go too much in depth. There are other guys here that I'd like to talk about. Let's go ahead and look at what is this? I don't know. We got 10, 9, 8 now. And that is Josh Jacobs, running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. Hopefully he stays. He might get the franchise tag here. Listen, the reason why I have him ranked so low, even though a lot of people might think he might go higher in next year's draft, and that's perfectly okay. But being the pure leading rusher last year, second in fantasy scoring in PPR formats, or I think third in PPR formats, it's just very hard to replicate that kind of success, especially with the unknowns that we now have in Las Vegas. Derek Carr, obviously departing. Josh McDaniels, he likes to run the ball. But remember last year, before we saw them sign all these different players, all these different running backs, and eventually Josh Jacobs took hold of that backfield and reigned supreme, rightfully so. But there's too many unknowns right now with that team, and most notably, it's the quarterback position. We got to figure out what's going on there before I can wiggle in Josh Jacobs up or down. And then also just his career in general. Will he get the franchise tag? I think it's very unlikely that he signs an extension in Las Vegas. So then what does that mean if he lands elsewhere? We'll have to keep an eye. But for right now, he's my number, 10, 9, 8 running back. It'd be a lot better if I had numbers here. But with that being said, let's go ahead and go to running back number 7. And I think there's a tier break here. This is where my first tier break happens. And that is Travis Etienne, running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. man, the number 17 RB in 2022, 220 carries. And what a lot of people don't forget, that's like, I think, tied for seventh or eighth most in the NFL last year. I think ninth most. Now I'm just getting crazy with it. But it's still top 10 in carries. And he did that in the first few games of the season. It was a split backfield or some type of weird combination between him and James Robinson. Well, James Robinson obviously gone. The one thing I want to see from Travis Etienne in 2023 under coach Doug Peterson and a second year with Trevor Lawrence, I should say, is the passing game work. This was something that he was so talented. He was so talented in this, with his pass catching ability in 2023, or at least he demonstrated it in college. And we didn't really see a lot of that in the last season. And of course, he missed his first season with that Lindsfinzik injury. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to keep talking. But if we can crack that game, he was getting comparisons to the Austin Ecklers of the world, these pass catching phenomenons that are so good for PPR fantasy football. If we can just get a whiff of that on top of what he was already doing in 2022, then 2023 is the limit for Travis Etienne. And that's why I have him, I believe, at, 10, 8, 9, or 10, 9, 8, 7 on my list. Let's go ahead. The guy that he was just comped to, Austin Eckler, running back for the San Diego Chargers. There's not a lot to say here. He does it time and time again. He'll be 26 or 27 at the time of next season. And I get it. Him and another guy who we're eventually going to see here on the list, you might think they're getting a little up there on age, or in age, I should say. But, I say this a lot about Dynasty. And whereas people are always looking to rebuild, they go into full rebuild, no matter what, there's always a win now possibility. And if you're into that win now possibility, that's that 1 to 2 year window. Austin Eckler is still going to provide that fantasy value for you, especially with Justin Herbert and company. That team should only get better as the continuity continues to grow there. We don't really know the head coach situation. Obviously he's still there, but just keep an eye on it, monitor it. But Austin Eckler is a surefire thing, no more than any. In redraft formats, he's a top 3 running back for me. In Dynasty, he finds himself at number 6. Let's move on to my number 5 running back in Dynasty, Saquon Barkley, running back for the New York Giants. What a great bounce back year last year. And there's just not a lot to say. The guy gets the load. He'll be 20. That sounded weird. The guy gets the touches. He has the ability. He's probably the most talented running back of this group, except with the exception of, the guys ahead of him. But there are so many things that he can do, pass catching, running the ball. I'm not going to question it anymore. Saquon Barkley finds himself at number 6 on our countdown. I'm sorry, number 5 on our countdown. My countdown. Oh, my goodness. Look at me fumbling with my words. That's why I'm moving on to number 4. Who is it? Christian McCaffrey, running back for the San Francisco 49ers. 26 years old. I think he'll be 27 at the start of the 2023 season. The number 2 finish in fantasy last year. He's got that win now factor. And again, I just mentioned it with Saquon Barkley and Austin Eckler, where these guys, they might be getting up there in age. And you might be thinking, oh, their time is coming. Well, look at Derrick Henry turning 29 last year, and look what he was able to do. McCaffrey finally played his first full healthy season last year, which was great for him. And he also plays with the most complete team. That defense is going to be unstoppable next year. That offense, depending who that QB is, I still think he finds comfortability there, and he should be a safe factor. And just remember all of those people that were drafting him last year in redraft leagues. As he possibly snuck into the later half of that first round, you were rewarded handsomely. And if you held on to him in Dynasty and you're in a win now situation, then definitely capitalize on Christian McCaffrey. He finds himself at number 4 on our list. Right after that, Jonathan Taylor. I would have him a little bit higher, but just because of the circumstances surrounding the Indianapolis Colts organization right now, that line was beat up last year. We hope to see them rebound and get a little bit healthy. Their quarterback was inconsistent last year, or I should say the quarterback play was inconsistent last year. So they're going to look to address that as well. I don't think they have enough wide receiver weapons outside of Michael Pittman Jr., which he didn't really show out last year as well. So there are a lot of question marks here with this team in particular. And I believe that teams can just essentially stack the box like they did with Jonathan Taylor. And don't get me wrong, he had a very strong second half to the season. And for dynasty purposes, he still is my number 3 dynasty running back. So a lot of promise, a lot of capabilities there. But I just think the 2 guys ahead of him are a tad bit better, and they're in better situations. And that's what we have to remember here, better situations. Now, you might be questioning your head as I say this next one. Brees Hall. I mean, not Brees Hall. Kenneth Walker the third, Seattle Seahawks running back. Is he really in a better situation? Well, when you're the coach, when your coach is Pete Carroll and you run the ball 30 times a game, you're likely going to find yourself having fantasy success. Now, that's not what the Seahawks were last year with Geno Smith winning comeback player of the year and being an absolute fantasy, okay stud. Kenneth Walker showed promise as a young running back. And I hate to say it, but that's what the dynasty owners always look for. That's what I'm looking for. He came back after a serious injury and was able to still perform at a high level. I think he's got the longevity here compared to some of these other guys. He is my number 2 running back, which takes me to number 1. And I know there are 3 names down there, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, but this last guy, don't let the ACL scare you. It's Brees Hall, running back for the New York Jets. Talk about talent. I love this guy. 22 years old. He's the most talented running back. And I know I said that about Saquon Barkley, but just he's a step above in terms of youthfulness and explosiveness. He can bring it for you. He's impending a huge QB upgrade in the offseason. Mekhi Becton looking to get healthy and improve that offensive line. Rushing attempts. Last year, before he went out, that 3-game stretch where he was on a tear, most notably with his short game passing work, 3-game stretch averaging 18 touches a game. And again, it's so explosive with the ball in his hands. But there you have it. There's the tier maker list for you. Number 10, Tony Pollard. 9, Nick Chubb. 8, Josh Jacobs. 7, Travis Etienne. 6, Austin Eckler. 5, Saquon Barkley. 4, Christian McCaffrey. 3, Jonathan Taylor. Number 2, Kenneth Walker. And number 1, Brees Hall. Take it all with a grain of salt. I appreciate you all for listening. Let me know if you have any thoughts about these rankings down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, your takes. Am I too high on some of these guys? Am I too low on others that didn't make the list? Where's Derrick Henry? 29, and he still showed no signs of slowing down. You might see him on my 10 through 20 video. I mean, why not? You're going to see him on the 10 through 20 video. But again, take this video and this information with one little piece of advice. Dynasty, where you are looking into that 2 to 5 year window, every situation should be a win now situation. There's no need to dismantle your team. I've done it before. It feels unnecessary, especially when you're spending your hard-earned money, essentially just throwing away a season and accumulating draft picks. And I get it. There are times that are necessary for you to do that, but there's always still a place to compete, and remember that. So guys like CMC, guys like Austin Eckler, where some people might have them ranked a little further back, I have them ranked forward because they have so much win now potential, and I think that needs to be noted. But with that being said, you know the stick by now. If I've given you any helpful advice, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you feel like this is totally out of the ordinary, not really good, maybe I messed up a few times, come on back. I'm only getting better. Jacob Bartley and I strive every day to bring you the best content. And full podcast coming soon. We'll be bringing you the 10 through 20 players next for our dynasty rankings pre-draft. Good luck. Good luck out there. I appreciate you all listening, and we'll see you next time.